Which stocks could surge as AI's demand for power explodes? Coming up, we'll tell you about a group of stocks one smart investor is watching and why. So let's get started. This is Ticker Take.
All right, John, our audience has been curious about the hidden winners of the AI boom.
Yeah, that's right, Caroline, which is why we were excited to speak with Matt Sallee of Tortoise Capital, because Matt and the Tortoise team have been looking to identify companies that are kind of like the picks and shovels of the AI gold rush, and within that, companies that are within the energy sector.
All right, well, let's hear from Matt on how this list of hidden AI winners came together.
Everybody used to be worried about chips, and now the space, and in particular, tech CEOs have figured out that the gating item for AI is electricity. And getting access to the electricity, getting connected to the grid has become a real problem. And there's a number of companies that have created solutions to get you connected more quickly. And those are a lot of our top picks. We're doing, things also in digital infrastructure and kind of all the core components. But without electricity, you're dead in the water. You got nothing.
Now, Matt identified 8 stocks that fit within this theme. Let's see what these stocks have in common.
This is very much a picks and shovel strategy in terms of our fund. Everybody talks about the hyperscalers and they're spending $350 billion amongst Microsoft, Meta, Google, and Amazon. We are focused on the companies that they're spending that money with. And these are a lot of names that most people haven't even heard of, and they trade at valuations discounted to the S&P, the portfolio as a total. And these are names that have multi-year backlogs that, again, the market is just now starting to kind of figure out. And that's what makes our strategy unique, is it's the picks and shovels, it's the AI infrastructure.
All right, with all that said, let's get to that list of 8 stocks. But first, a friendly reminder, this is not financial advice. In alphabetical order, stock number 1, Dell Technologies.
Well, Dell's had a great run this year, and most analysts on Wall Street expect that will continue. Let's hear from Matt on how it fits into his investing theme.
Dell, this may sound unprofessional, but when I used to think of Dell, I think of the old commercials from the 90s where it's, dude, you're getting the Dell. So, it's a PC company that has now converted its business and expanded into basically providing AI solutions, in particular the servers. So really transforming their business. And it still trades at a 12 times price to earnings multiple. Its PEG ratio is actually below 1 time. So it's got pretty solid growth, and trading at a 12 times earnings multiple with their growth outlook is pretty wild in our view. So we like these names that are transformational stories.
Stock number 2, Digital Realty.
Well, Digital Realty has come up a few times on Ticker Take before. This is one of the best-known data center plays. In terms of the performance, it has lagged some of the other AI exciting themes this year, but most of Wall Street still likes the company. Let's hear from Matt again.
We have a bit of a barbell approach in our portfolio. The cool thing about Digital Realty is they're one of the original data center players. They're a little more focused on the enterprise side, so corporate customers, rather than the AI play, which in our view is why it has not performed quite as well this year. It's just not as sexy of a play, if you will, but it's a very low risk, low volatility name that when we construct a portfolio of, putting all these companies together, on certain days we'll have some names up 10, some names down 10. But overall, the portfolio sees pretty dampened volatility by including such a wide array of names. So this is like one of the original players in data centers.
Stock number 3, Energy Transfer.
Okay, this gets us deeper into the energy opportunity with a name that is supported by about 90% of the Wall Street analysts. Here's Matt again.
This is a name that we've owned since I started at the company back in 2004. These guys, this is our bread and butter. We grew up in the energy business. Obviously, we've expanded our offerings, but this is one of our largest holdings. It's a name where I can tell you the management team's dog's name. We know this one. We know this one really well. It's got an 8% dividend yield, so it trades at a massive discount. Like energy, in particular, energy infrastructure is one of the few parts of the U.S. financial markets that are not trading at peak valuations. These names are totally discounted. 8% yield, low leverage, 3% growth in that yield. So you're offsetting inflation, own 125,000 miles of pipeline. So our economy does not function without names like Energy Transfer. And they have arguably the best pipeline network in Texas, where it's a great place to do business. Data centers are constructing there. And a lot of these data centers are going in within 10 miles of their existing pipeline infrastructure. So probably coming across here that I like this name quite a bit.
Stock number 4, Evergy.
Yeah, staying on that energy theme, let's hear from another stock that is relatively well liked on Wall Street. Here's Matt.
Evergy's our favorite local utility here. That's who I pay my electricity bill to. So I guess I'm a little biased, but one of our biggest utility positions across the firm. And this is a name that's, it's not sexy by any stretch, regulated utility, unloved for years. All of a sudden, Kansas and Missouri are actually a pretty good place to do business as well. And that's their territory. Pretty friendly, improvement in the regulatory environment. They now have potential discussions with large load customers. So think data centers, Panasonic manufacturing, that will require the same amount of electricity as their peak day load. So, and these are 24/7 users. So just a complete game changer in the growth outlook for this company. They are expected to give guidance shortly. I think the market's been a little impatient with them, so it hasn't traded quite as well as we had expected for this year, but we think the outlook is tremendous. And that's really just the same thing we're seeing across a number of utilities, increasing their EPS forecasts. These are not your grandpa's utilities anymore. I think most people appreciate the fact, or most people don't appreciate the fact that electricity demand has not grown in our country in 20 years. All of a sudden, we are have an outlook for 20% growth by the end of the decade. So, what's a sleepy, stodgy sector is now becoming pretty interesting and dynamic based off data centers and just reshoring in general. The electricity outlook is, but we have a phrase. I'm going to steal one of my fellow PM's phrase. Electricity is the new oil, and we really believe that. It's just a tremendous outlook for electricity. Evergy is one of our favorite names there.
Stock number 5, MasTec.
Well, this is a company that gets us deeper into the energy infrastructure story. It's had a nice run, but most analysts are still bullish. Here's Matt.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that electricity is the gating factor. Once you have access to the grid, you have to build out the electricity infrastructure within the data center. And that's what these guys do. They're a contracting company. And you may have heard the stories. You cannot find electrical contractors right now. They are in such high demand. I actually told my son he needs to go to trade school rather than go to college. It's just these guys have more business than they know what to do with. Primarily an electricity contractor, but also do gas pipelines, as well as the actual digital infrastructure. So think the cabling that goes into it. So they're really touching all pieces of the guts inside the data center itself. So just a very interesting company. It's had a pretty good run. It trades at about 27 times price to earnings, but they have massive growth ahead of them. So definitely an interesting name.
Stock number 6, Modine Manufacturing.
Okay, it doesn't come up as frequently as, say, NVIDIA at the center of the AI story, but we have heard from guests before who have been bullish on this company. It's had a nice run. Most analysts, there aren't a lot who cover it, are still generally bullish. Here's Matt.
This is another name where we really like the transformational stories. They are a 100-year-old company, and they started out making automotive radiators of all things. So they understand the heat exchange business. They have, pivoted over those 100 years and expanded out their business lines to get more into the commercial side. Their latest move is data centers put out a ton of heat. Cooling's a big deal, and Modine is sitting right at the forefront of providing those solutions, and that's another critical factor. There's a lot of things that go on in the guts of data centers. These guys are one of the critical players. You got to keep the data centers cool, keep the equipment cool.
Stock number 7, IREN.
Maybe not hidden to people who have been tracking the crypto mining boom in recent years. This company, which has seen a nice run, but which analysts still like, part of that group that are seeing an AI opportunity beyond crypto. Here's Matt again.
Really, IREN's our top pick within the Bitcoin miners, but the space as a whole is super interesting. They have had access to electricity, to produce Bitcoin, going back almost 10 years. As I mentioned, that's the critical gating factor. They are now using that electricity to, pivot into high performance computing hosting. And again, having that electricity gives them a huge time to market advantage. And Bitcoin miners historically trade at very low valuation multiples. When they sign these long-term contracts, all of a sudden they're re-rating significantly. So it commands a higher multiple in the market. These names have been home runs, but we think we're very early on in this trend.
And stock number 8, the Williams Companies.
Ah, yes, delivering the power to fuel those AI data centers. A generally well-liked company. Let's hear from Matt.
Okay, similar to Energy Transfer, this is a name that we cut our teeth on. One of our largest holdings across the firm. They own the Transco pipeline, amongst other assets. The Transco pipeline is the critical artery providing, if you're heating your home on the East Coast or consuming electricity, these guys are the asset that has to exist to keep the East Coast running, keep your house warm, keep the lights on. They've recently pivoted their business, or I shouldn't say pivoted, that's a stretch, but have gotten involved in what's called behind the meter power. Most people have no idea what that is. It's a new trend where people are getting into the electricity business. They basically use the same compression equipment that they use to push gas through their pipelines. They're now setting that up in a modular fashion at data centers to provide time to market. Again, I keep harping on the theme of speed to market to get power. Companies are getting creative, and this behind the meter power is actually competing directly with the utilities. The cool thing is these compressors use a lot of natural gas. So not only are they signing long-term contracts, fixed price, fixed volume at 5 times multiples, so just tremendous returns, it also keeps their gas pipelines full. So a move that we have applauded, and again, one of our biggest holdings, and we are huge fans of.
All right, that's our list of hidden AI winners.
Thanks for watching here on the BNN Bloomberg YouTube channel. Ticker Take has its own YouTube channel. There's a link in the description if you want to subscribe. See you next time.